And city halls can show you New York in ways you've never seen. The city of the past and the city of today. And city halls can help you tell the stories of New York. Those stories happen in all hours of the day and in all corners of the city. Now, I said all corners of the city. Before we dive into the nooks and crannies of neighborhoods you've never heard of, let's find out where we are and what's around us. And to help us learn that, I've got a map. Now, this is a partial map of New York City and the surrounding area. On the map, you'll notice there's this pulsating blue circle. That is where we are. That's where the building is, One World Trade Center. Now, one of the most common questions we get at the observatory is, how high in the sky are we? Well, I'm going to answer that question for all of you with the help of this picture. This is an image of the top portion of this building. Now, I want you to notice up near the rooftop, there are several floors that appear to have windows that are darker than the other floors. It looks like there's a band of dark windows near the top of the building. It's actually a little bit of an optical illusion, but that's what it looks like. The observatory is located right above the band of dark windows. So that's where we are, on the 100th floor at a height of 1,254 feet. 1,254 feet. And by the way, that is 4 feet higher than the rooftop of the Empire State Building. If you ever saw the movie King Kong, at the end, Kong climbs the Empire State Building, stands on top, right? Well, you're 4 feet higher than Kong was. Now, as high as that is, it's not quite the rooftop of our building. And that's because above the observatory are several mechanical floors. Now, every skyscraper has mechanical floors. So the architects and engineers put the equipment you need to run a building like this. Heating equipment, air conditioning equipment, water tanks, stuff like that. And above the observatory, that's where they put the elevator motors that bring the elevators to the top of the building. Above the mechanical floors, the rooftop of the building. The rooftop height of this building matches the rooftop heights of the original Twin Towers. That is not a coincidence. The designers of this building wanted the memory of the Twin Towers to be part of the building, so they matched the rooftop height. But unlike the Twin Towers that ended at the roof, our building keeps going. You'll notice there's a pointy spire that sticks above the roof. Now, lots of people think that's an antenna. It is not. An antenna is a piece of broadcasting equipment, and it has nothing to do with the design of a building. A spire has everything to do with the design of a building. It's an architectural feature of the building. I tell people to think of that spire like the steeple on a church. If it wasn't there, the building would be incomplete, it would be unfinished, right? So because that spire is part of the building, the height of the spire is the height of the building. 1,776 feet. 1776, of course, is the birth date of the United States. It's the year the Declaration of Independence was written and signed. Some people call this building the Freedom Tower because of that. Now that's just a nickname, it's just a nickname, but if you hear that nickname, this is the building they're talking about. That height of 1776 feet makes this the tallest building in New York City, the tallest building in the United States, and the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. But the 6th tallest building in the world. And that's because in the Eastern Hemisphere, the Middle East and Asia, there are 5 taller buildings. So, now that we know where we are in the sky, let's find out where we are on the ground. Back to the map. Now, from the map, you can see The building we're in is at the southern end, or as we New Yorkers say, the downtown end of Manhattan Island. Now, lots of people not from New York think Manhattan is New York City. Well, that's only partially correct. You see, New York City consists of 5 counties, or as we call them, 5 boroughs. And Manhattan is just one borough. And by the way, it is the smallest of the boroughs, right? There are 4 other boroughs, all of them bigger than Manhattan, and those boroughs surround Manhattan Island. So lots of folks are a little iffy about the boroughs, right? Some people know about them, a lot of visitors don't. It's a big source of confusion. So what I want to do is I want to sort of sort out the confusion, show you the boroughs, tell you a little bit about them, so this way you know what you're looking at when you look out the windows. Okay? So the first other borough we'll talk about is the one you're facing right now. If you look out the windows behind me, across the water of New York Bay, 5 miles in the distance, out there you'll see a dark, hilly landmass. That big landmass is another island, much bigger than Manhattan. It's called Staten Island. Staten Island is another borough. It's a very different kind of borough. Not a lot of tall buildings on Staten Island, not a lot of apartment buildings on Staten Island. Mostly what you'll find there are houses. 1 and 2 family homes, separate from the neighbors, lawn in front, backyard in the back. It's a very suburban kind of borough. Go there, you will not feel like you're part of the big city, but technically you are. Right? Now, attached to Staten Island, it's a little hard to see because of the haze, but you can make it out in this direction. There is a big bridge that connects Staten Island on the right to Brooklyn on the left. The name of the bridge is the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge, and it's the longest suspension bridge in the United States. Now, Brooklyn, you can see Brooklyn out these windows here. Brooklyn is our most populous borough, so 2.5 million people live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is also probably our 2nd most famous borough. Everyone seems to have heard of Brooklyn, right? It's a very famous place, and a good reason for that is probably because Brooklyn has one of the great landmarks of New York City, which is the Brooklyn Bridge. And you can see the Brooklyn Bridge right out the window here. It's the nearest bridge to the observatory. Now, attached to Brooklyn, out in that direction, is Queens. Queens is our largest borough. It's 100 square miles in size, and it's where we put our airports. So JFK and LaGuardia, both in Queens. Also in Queens is Citi Field, where one of our baseball teams, the Mets, play. And also in Queens is Arthur Ashe Stadium, where the US Open tennis tournament takes place. And that tournament's going to be happening in about a week or so. So if you're going to be in the city for that long, you might want to check it out. Queens also happens to be one of the most ethnically diverse places in the United States. Well over 100 different foreign languages are commonly spoken in Queens. Our last borough is behind you, way behind you, past the northern tip of Manhattan Island. Up there you'll find the Bronx. The Bronx, famous of course for the Bronx Zoo. We have a Bronx fan here. Okay. Do you live in the zoo, sir? No. You got the Bronx Zoo, you got the New York Botanical Garden, and of course you got the New York Yankees, right? You're a Yankees fan of that. They're doing pretty good, I understand. So you're riding high. So the New York Yankees, their nickname, in fact, is called the Bronx Bombers because Yankee Stadium is up in the Bronx. So those are the boroughs. Let's review. Here we are in Manhattan. Uptown you got the Bronx. Out there is Queens. Over there is Brooklyn. Behind me, Staten Island. Now, you'll notice I only showed you half the view, right? I never pointed that way. Well, there's a reason for that. What you see in that direction, across the Hudson River here, that is not part of New York City. In fact, it's not even part of New York State. It's another state called New Jersey. New Jersey. Because New Jersey is a state, it's got its own cities. Right across the water is Jersey City, New Jersey. Further in the distance is Newark, New Jersey. And to the left of Newark is Newark Airport. Right? And on and on and on. There are hundreds of different cities, towns, and villages in New Jersey. So now that we know where we are in the sky and on the ground, we're going to dive in deeper. If you saw any of the shows that my colleagues did before me, you'll know that at this point, what we usually do is we change these screens, and each screen becomes a different topic. We pick a topic, we dive in. I'm not going to do that. I like to continue on these geography lessons because I find it answers a lot of questions people have about the view. For example, lots of folks are confused by the islands they see out here in the bay. For example, this island right here, this green island. Lots of people think it's Staten Island. Well, you know better. I told you Staten Island's across the water, so it's not that. Some people think it's Ellis Island. It's not that either. Some people even think it's Rikers Island. It's really not that. And if you don't know why, Google it, and you'll find out, right? Now, that little green island there, the Mystery Island, is called Governor's Island. Governor's Island. And you'll see it here. Wait for it. There it is. And here. Now, Governor's Island gets its name from the fact that before the American Revolution, when New York was a British royal colony, the British royal governor had a house on the island. So they called it Governor's Island. And the name has stuck ever since, right? Now, after the Revolution, the federal government of the United States turned the island into a military base. And it was a military base for over 200 years. In the late 1990s, the base closed, and the federal government sold the island to New York City. New York turned it into a public park. And that's what it is today. Anybody can visit. $2.75 ferry ride in each direction will get you there and back. And there are no cars allowed, so you rent a bicycle and tube around or walk around and have a picnic. You can check out some of those old historic military buildings. It's a very fun place to go to escape from the rest of the city. Now, here's a place that almost no one asks about, right? Because everybody knows the Statue of Liberty. And there she is over my left shoulder. Or if you want to get a close-up view, there she is on these screens. Now, most of you probably already know the Statue of Liberty was a gift from the people of France to the United States. The French were our allies in that American Revolution. They helped us beat the British. So there's a really strong emotional connection between France and the United States in the early years of the history of this country. And the statue was essentially a 100-year birthday present from France to the US. Now, I'm not going to go on and on about the statue, because what I really want to talk about is the island that the statue stands on. Many, many, many visitors mistakenly believe that the statue is on Ellis Island. That is not correct. The statue is on Liberty Island. Liberty Island. It used to be called Bedloe's Island before they built the statue, right? So, if that isn't Ellis Island, and that isn't Ellis Island, where is Ellis Island? Ellis Island is the third island. To the right of the Statue of Liberty, that square-shaped island, that's Ellis Island. You see it here, and you see it here. Ellis Island served as the immigration processing center for immigrants coming into the United States through New York City from 1892 to 1954. 12 million immigrants were processed on Ellis Island. And among them, by the way, were my grandparents. But I'm not special, believe me. It is estimated that 25% of all Americans can trace at least one branch of their family tree through Ellis Island. So lots of important history here, and of course lots of important history on Liberty Island as well. And you can check out that history for the price of one boat ride. If you want to go see the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, buy a ticket at Statue Cruises. Now, I'm not here to promote Statue Cruises, but I mention them because they are the only company that can bring you to the Statue of Liberty or to Ellis Island. And I don't want you to be fooled when you buy a ticket into thinking you're going to the Statue of Liberty or Ellis Island from some other company because they can't bring you there. You can buy Statue of Liberty boat rides that will take you around the island, but if you want to go to the statue, to Ellis Island, Statue Cruises is the only company. So just be warned about that. I know a lot of people will be fooled by ads from other companies, okay? The price of the ticket is less than 25 bucks, and you get to go to both places. I think that's a great deal, right? You get on the boat, brings you to Liberty Island, you get off the boat, check out the island, check out the statue, check out the museum. When you're done, get on the boat, and we'll bring you to Ellis Island, get off, check out the island, check out the building, check out the museum. When you're done, get on the boat, brings you back to where you started, all for 25 bucks. What a deal. Less than 25 bucks. What a deal. All right, so I think we're done with the geography lesson. I don't want to outlast my welcome here, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I do want to remind you, New York is not just about famous places. It's about people. 8.8 million people of all types, like these folks here and me, who call this city our home. And I like to think we New Yorkers are a little bit smarter and a lot nicer than our reputation would have you believe. So if you're visiting the city, my advice to you is, if you need directions, if you need help, if you need advice, ask a New Yorker. All right? Folks, I want to thank you for watching my talk here. Hope you have a wonderful visit to the city and a healthy and happy summer. Thank you.